Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Welcome to episode 649 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture and HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU's athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, David L. Rhodes, and with me I have Jeffery Johnson riding his Tesla and Big Reek. Tariq Wilson, I'm just having fun with you, bro.
Still in that Tesla, man. Come on, man.
Yo, I can't even give this thing away, man. Anybody want to buy it, hit me up. Hit me up on
Leave it on the side of the street, man.
Yo, yeah, man. I had to went crazy.
We are filming live from our home studios and signal live to our KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing today? Jeff, we'll start with you, buddy. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm good. Just got two beautiful babies. You know, I wasn't gonna join today, but it just so happened my wife had one of them and the car broke down. So I was like, you know what? Let me just go ahead and help her out right quick and hop on this little thing for a little bit, you know, to be with my homeboys.
Oh, appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Wilson, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, man. So luckily basketball practice was canceled tonight, so I'm here.
And you got a pretty good ball in your squad, man, out here be on this Steph Curry, ain't it?
Yeah, my little man, he can shoot, man. He can shoot. He last tournament he had, I mean, he can play, he's all around, you know, guard, two guard, combo guard, but 14U, they were down 12 second half. He hit 6 3-pointers in the second half to bring them back. But he can shoot. He always been able to shoot since he was 2. You know, just when he saw that basketball, he used to shoot. But now he still can shoot that thing.
That's what's up, man.
You know what he said too? Y'all can appreciate this. He says he wants to go to Norfolk State just so he could beat Hampton. And play and hoop at Norfolk State just to beat Hampton, just to antagonize me.
That's
don't know, man. We care about his future.
That's what I told him.
Community don't get too far, man.
I root for him except against Hampton. I get if that happened, you know.
Yeah.
Well, man, if he wants to be part of the Beholders, let him be part of the Beholders, man.
Yeah, his uncle is, so you know it's in the family. You know, we make mistakes.
Yeah, we ain't got no buzzers in our family, so we good to go over here in this spectrum here. I'm gonna be honest, man. We got a couple Aggies in the family, so I don't know what type of looks that person would get if an Eagle did show up in there. I will say.
Oh, man, so, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. It's been a crazy week in the workplace. You know, we just did our second round of deferred resignation. So
did you take it? I hope you didn't.
No. But we had a lot of folks who did. We had some folks who did. Yeah.
Are they near retirement or just tired of it all?
There's some folks that were near retirement. There's some folks that were like really good. They just decided to want to move on and do something else. And there were some other folks that were pretty young that made the decision to just, you know, enjoy the summer off. You pretty much get the summer off halfway through the fall and just not do anything. But either way,
what a time! What a time!
Oh, you ain't kidding, man. But we got some interesting news that's gone down the pike. I guess I'm going to start with this. So the WNBA draft was on Monday.
Yeah.
And Diamond Johnson wasn't taken from Norfolk State. And I I don't know why. Well, I have my theories of why. I just think it's another example of the penalty of transferring down to an HBCU, in my opinion.
Yeah.
She did everything she was supposed to do.
Yep.
From that standpoint, and I think she definitely was one of the best 40 players in the country. So to not get drafted is wild to me. Now, I'm pretty sure she's probably going to get an opportunity. I don't know if the camps have been called out yet, and if other folks are getting invited to camps yet in the WNBA, but I think she should definitely get an opportunity. I think if she does, she'll probably make a team. I know there was some talks about her size, but I don't think that's that in the grand scheme of things, that I don't think that's a big enough factor to warrant it.
I think she makes up for it in her skill and definitely her speed. So, it's still that still was something that definitely shocked me as well.
Yeah,
Can I say that I wasn't shocked?
What?
How were you not shocked? Why weren't you shocked, sir?
I mean, the WNBA. I mean, how do I say this the right way? In certain aspects, because of they're gaining popularity, I think they're a little behind the men in some ways, and they still like the big flashy names. And that name didn't move the needle enough for a small, player from a small HBCU. That's not enough for them. Like, it seems like they still try to sell big names more than talent. So I wasn't shocked.
Yeah, I mean, there was a kid from UConn that averaged 4 points a game that got drafted.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
that's wild.
That's wild.
It's wild. Because and let me be clear, guys. Like, her getting drafted doesn't guarantee she would make the roster anyway, because there are first round, second round picks that get cut from these teams. There ain't that many slots.
Yeah.
There's only like 150 or so slots.
Yeah.
So there ain't that many spots.
Yeah. And it's much different from the NBA, because the NBA, even though they have more teams, they can also send their draft picks to the G League or stuff like that. So, and plus, I think in the NBA, if you're a lottery pick, you're slotted in. I'm not sure what the rules are in WNBA.
Yeah. And they're expanding to more teams too, so there's that aspect too. So, but it's still not there aren't that many teams, there ain't too many slots, so it's difficult to make a roster even as a draft pick. You got to earn your way in, so to speak. On another note, let's continue with the basketball news. So we haven't talked since this happened, but Patrick Query decided to take his talents from FAMU to Grambling. What's your thoughts regarding that one?
It's always, they had the same. This is the thing. Even though this spans different athletic administrations. Remember the coach that was before Willie? I forgot. Was it Alex? I'm the football coach. And remember, they had trouble trying to figure out his contract the first year at FAMU, and it was just it went all the way through the summer up until, I don't even think he had a contract until the season started, like even with the coaches. This is a FAMU issue. This has always been a FAMU issue. And you know what? I'm glad to see Query getting moving on and, moving. I wouldn't say Grambling, I would say, is a top tier program over FAMU, even though FAMU's no, they're bad. They played better. No, they've done better than FAMU. But I'm just talking about facility wise with FAMU. And
the running joke I have is that arena's too good to be empty.
That's true.
It is. That arena's too nice to be empty, man. Like, I think FAMU has done a disservice to the men's basketball program.
Huge disservice.
And I thought that they had a good coach for Crary, and they kind of dangled the wrong thing in front of them and didn't take care of it the way they should have. They dropped the ball big time.
They only fill up that arena for step shows and probates, man.
Do they charge at least? Because if they charge, that means that's revenue.
Right.
I know we charge now, so I'm just asking questions.
Wait, for step shows or probates?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, step shows. Yeah. Wow.
Step shows, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, but we do ours at the Coliseum, so it's not. It's a little bit, like when we do our step shows at the Coliseum, the gym ain't big enough for that. It's a different type of aura for the step shows when we're doing the Coliseum.
Wow.
Yeah. I think it's a come up for the coach. Yeah, I have more interesting thoughts about the FAMU replacement than the guys who
Oh
they
yeah,
the
we're
guy
gonna
who
get
they
to
left.
that. We're gonna
Yeah.
folks are talking about that in the chat.
Yeah.
But I will say this: like Patrick Curry got a pretty significant pay bump. He was making around 150 at FAM. He went all the way to at least 230, and it was a 5-year deal. So so shout out to Grambling for getting it done, considering they lost Dante Jackson to Alabama A&M, and they were able to pull Patrick Curry from FAMU to come to Grambling. So it's going to be fascinating to see what the SWAC is going to look like. And speaking of FAMU, they were at that point looking for a new coach. And today, I guess the board, I didn't check to see if they approved the contract, but they put the contract on the table for Charlie Ward, former Heisman Trophy winner, former New York Knick, who played in the NBA Finals back in 1999 as an 8 seed. He's now the head basketball coach for Florida A&M University.
Yeah,
I'll let y'all go first.
Well, in the 90s, I was a huge Knicks fan, a fan of all New York sports, basically. And the running joke was that Charlie Ward was the best quarterback in New York. So, but he was nice with hoops too. So I think he'll do well. I mean, it's FAMU. He'll be there for a year or two before they kick him out or he gets a raise. But I think he'll straighten him out. I think he'll do well.
I think he'll be there longer than 2 years. I guess there's a history to shout out to my boy DC on Twitter. He mentioned the fact that his pops, he was pretty much raised in FAMU.
And he ain't why he go to Florida State.
Thank you.
Anyway,
don't get me started.
I know the answer to that. I know that.
Yeah, I think we all know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Supposedly it was because at the time FAMU wouldn't let him play 2 sports. Florida State did.
Yeah. Let me say this. Where was he a coach previously?
High school in Florida.
See, okay.
Now remember, y'all. I think this hire is more about the connections.
Okay.
Right. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. Like I mean, you can't. It's gonna be, and it's a good story because like he pretty much was raised around that school.
Sure.
So he gets to go home, and he has a lot of connections. So, and Lennon just confirmed to me that it was approved.
Okay.
So that's good.
It's gonna work. It'll work.
I will say, is this because I mean Prime came from high school, but Prime been a seasoned high school coach. I will just say this with is this like a splash hire, or does it seem, is it a splash hire, or is this something of like he can really make a difference in this program?
I think if they can get the fan base going and having the fan base actually engage in the program. Oh yeah, and his pops did go to FAMU. There's that part too. So there's a lot of other factors in the equation. So when you take like the fact that of how he does have some type of legendary status in Florida, he got legendary status at Florida State, being a Heisman Trophy winner. So he's known. If he can get dollars into that university, that's a win. Do I think they're gonna win the SWAC next year? No. Do I think they could win the SWAC in about 3 or 4 years? Maybe.
Wait. Well, but with the transfer portal, I mean, he could get if FAMU got a little bit of money, he can get some big names quickly.
I mean, this feels like, hey, look what I got. I got Charlie Ward. It's like, hey, you just throwing something at the wall, though. It's like a lot of these things. It's like when Coach Prime came to Jackson State. Graham, we got Hugh Jackson, who was, we said it before, Stump Mitchell in disguise. And I'm just saying now, Charlie Ward, it's like, is this like, he's going to come in and save the program type of thing? It's like, I really do not like I'm not saying this is FAMU. Maybe he is a good guy. Maybe he is a seasoned coach.
I think this is more of a fascinating fit versus like comparing it to Deion because of the FAMU ties with his dad going to FAM.
Eddie George type of fit.
Yeah. I think it's closer to Eddie George than Deion here.
I mean, I get Tallahassee angle. I get that. It's like, but I'm sure that there are a lot of good other coaches out there that could have done. Hell, you had one. You let him go. But
reports are is that they did try to match it, but I think the damage was already done.
Of course,
like I think that there was too much disrespect in the room at that point for him to come back, even with you guys matching. If he had an opportunity to go somewhere else, I think that was already done. But they were able to recover with Charlie Ward, and I'm fascinated to see what Charlie Ward is going to do at FAMU. I just want, like I said earlier, that arena is too nice to be empty. So I hope that the base comes and supports the fans. And I think this will help because of the name recognition. I think it's a good hire off that alone.
Cared about basketball since Mike Gillespie was there, so I mean,
have they ever drawn? Has basketball ever been interesting there?
I have no idea.
I can't remember
I'm not going to speak on that. I can only go on what I'm seeing. They until this year, this is the most wins they've had this year than they had since 2008.
And the coach walked. That's crazy.
The coach walked. But the wild thing is, I pretty much said it. Like when they didn't approve that initial 3-year deal, I said if he shows up and he just has more wins than they've seen in a long time, he's gone.
Yeah.
That was the first time they made the SWAC tournament since they've been in the conference.
Shitland.
And he got a win.
Shitland.
So when there's a Jeopardy question about who has the first SWAC basketball tournament win in FAMU's history, they're gonna name that man. And then Trebek could be like, well, rest in peace, Trebek. He could be like, well, he also only played there. He also coached for one season. One season that he was there, he got the first win in the SWAC tournament for Florida A&M. He's always going to be in the history books for that, no matter how people feel about him. But I don't think it was an issue with, so to be clear, because I don't want FAMU folks coming at my neck. It wasn't an issue with the FAMU fan base. The fan base loved them.
Yeah.
The issue was with the BOT, the Board of Trustees.
The tone deaf BOT. It's always them.
Well, here's the thing. How did those fans show support? Like, did all 20 of them come to the games? Like, there was no,
No, but I'm just saying, no, they weren't
1,000 people that came to the game.
But my point is, it wasn't a situation where the base hated the hire. It was more of the fact that the bot was the reason why they got into this mess. And it wasn't really the fan base. Like, the fan base participated how they normally would participate.
Their bot be doing all kinds of stuff, man. Jeez.
Look, man, depending on who you ask, basketball not even on in their top 5 list of sports they care about at FAMU. Depending on who you ask.
Well, it shows. They telling the truth.
Like, if you go to a FAMU basketball game, you just see a bunch of folks that feel like they've been let out of the nursing home. It's just a bunch of older Rattler alums and a couple kids and some vendors, and that's it. So,
it's crazy. Where does it rank for you guys, David? Because I saw something. I think for Hampton, basketball is 1.
Yeah.
So it's funny you say that, and I was gonna discuss that because like A&T's had a couple of meetings over the past week. We just had our alumni town hall yesterday, and then we had an athletics foundation meeting last Saturday. Earl Hilton did his they asked him a question about how do you handle the different sports, and because somebody asked a question about what's going on with women's sports, and his comment was women's basketball is probably the most funded, it's the most funded program out of all of them per capita.
Yeah.
So it's women's so for him the big 5 for him is women's basketball, football, men's basketball, track, men and women track, and bowling. Those are the 5. And it's because he believes that he doesn't believe in the way he said it, the way he doesn't believe in it doesn't matter what brings revenue or not. It's more about trying to win championships, and particularly national championships. He believes that track is going to eventually win a national championship, and that is the goal of that track program. He believes the same thing for bowling, so it's part of the 5. He believes that women's basketball could get to that next level, we get really good and get a pretty high seed in the tournament because of the conference that we're in. He legitimately believes that. And in football, he wants to win an FCS national championship, so that's up on the docket as well. So it's it's in the 5, but Scotty, even shout out to Scotty, who has some pretty strong sources in FAMU. Even from their perspective, it's the 5 is one of the 5 is It's not basketball. It's not there. It's not part of their top 5. Golf is ahead of them. Baseball is ahead.
Golf is ahead. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
They just won the golf championship. Shout out to FAMU. They just won the golf championship. They just won the SWAT golf championship.
Wow.
You know,
Okay.
so shout out to them. You know, and their baseball team's really good right now. I think they still only have 1 loss in conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're not killing when it comes to that. But ODB kind of is very accurate, man. There's low expectations. Like Charlie Ward don't have no championships. I think if he gets fans into the stands, shows some growth, the squad gonna be fine. They're gonna be fine.
I think he's gonna do it.
I don't know. Yeah,
I think he's gonna do it.
I think being a Tallahassee favorite, you know, you'll probably get a lot of non-FAMU fans show up too.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, you probably get a couple FSU guys there too. You know, I mean, I think that. I mean, but the novelty can wear off quick if that team is putrid. So, you know, but
see, FAMU, it's interesting that they're not really big on basketball because it's such an easy sport to
Oh my
kind of
God, it
flip
is.
and
Yeah.
and get good quickly and then get paid from it. So like to not be into it, like since I'm in this arena now, there's so many good kids. Like JUCOs can't even take them all. Like there is talent everywhere, and you can get quick so quickly. To not invest in it is kind of wild.
When we talked about the rankings of which sports were important in FAMU, when you talk about you know, football, you know, baseball.
Yeah, football. I think football is clear in the head. But it's funny because at A&T, that's not the case. Like I think from a revenue standpoint, it's gonna always be king. But from the importance from a department standpoint, it's part of the 5.
Yeah.
Like Earl insisted about the fact that he tries to take care of all the sports equally.
Yeah.
But if you talk about the 5, they get taken care of. And he also mentioned something that was fascinating about NIL for the women's basketball program. He pretty much said he expects the NIL budget to be in competition with some of the strongest conferences in Division I. Like, because I mean, and truth be told, man, you should reward that. Like when you talk about the women's basketball program at A&T, it's one of the only programs that's gone through all these conferences turns and stayed successful. The track team did too, considering the circumstances, because the team got ravaged after the Big South to CAA, and it still was able to get a championship in a couple of years. So,
no, that's good. I do feel that FAMU, sport that we did not mention at FAMU, that they probably pay attention to a lot more.
Volleyball.
The band. The band.
And volleyball. I forgot about volleyball.
Yeah, volleyball, but the band, you know, the band. So I bet the band.
I mean, look, man, the band united. You know, they performed. Them and the Boom performed with Travis Scott at Coachella.
Oh, is that what they call the Boom?
Well, the Sonic Boom in the South. Jackson State and FAMU, they performed together with Travis Scott over the weekend.
I mean, who cares? Look, at this point, who cares?
They care. My timeline cared. My timeline cared.
Man, I didn't even know. I'm following the wrong people. I didn't even know that happened.
That happened. That happened. I see that stuff. Somebody asked about A&T's basketball facility.
No, Corbett's dope.
I love Corbett.
I love Corbett. It's cozy.
No, I love Corbett, man. Like Corbett is a tough environment for an away team to play in. I love Corbett.
If you want to know about the environment about Corbett, YouTube the Todd Bozeman ham sandwich game. That was probably I was so proud to see that type of fan interaction in that game. They had a pig out there. That was a great game.
Nah, Corbett is always going to live. Is always going to be legendary. Corbett's not going to ever shut down. But like we've been talking about getting that convocation center, but I think the biggest challenge to getting the convocation center is getting the land. Like there's a place where they want to do it, but they got to buy up all the property first before they can do it.
Yeah.
But the convocation center is definitely in the plans. They're thinking like 2030s when they think that's going to happen. Like we got a long-term plan going into 2040. Like if I get to live to see what A&T looks like in 2040, it's going to be night and day from what it is now. And it's already a beautiful campus now.
Shoot, we got anything going, Tariq?
No, we got a new weight room. You saw that?
Yeah. That's nice. That's real nice.
Pretty. No, we
And
got, I think Hampton, I think there's a lot of what they say, capital improvements going on around the campus.
Oh,
I
there is.
think,
I will say that when we went around the
yeah.
campus, I was like, yeah, they're out here working over there. So that's props to y'all,
Yeah.
man. They're doing a
And,
lot of
and
stuff
what
out there.
and what I see is happening in the athletic space is that they're putting a lot of new coats of paint on stuff.
yeah.
It's not necessarily like new buildings, but everything is looking a little more spiffy and
Yeah.
new and shiny. So yeah.
So
But
Hey, man, y'all
that scoreboard in basketball, that's what I want them to fix.
oh yeah.
y'all got a nice arena though.
Yeah, it is. The scoreboard
Yeah.
is like half the
Well, now I
pixels
didn't get to see this. I ain't get to see the scoreboard. Like I was there for I was there for an orientation. I didn't get to see the scoreboard.
it's
But,
pixelated. They know that. So hopefully we get a new scoreboard this offseason. That'd be nice.
hey, look, man, y'all stadium ain't that good down in Durham, man. You're gonna have to just accept that, man. It's okay.
Yeah, that it's cozy, but when you see it in the daylight, it's like wow. At
Now
night it
Corbin
looks
is nice,
nice, but
man.
in the daylight, the
Where
Eagles nest is.
players go to the locker room? Where do they go?
But I don't know.
I don't know actually.
I don't know, but I will say this. It's one thing I've learned is that facilities upgrades has been a challenge out of HBCUs, and we know that, right?
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
and that's been the thing ultimately. And and after the break, and I know Jeff, you gotta go, and I'll probably talk to Tariq about this. We'll discuss some of the interesting conversation that happened during the A&T meetings. I want to get Rick's perspective on it because there was a lot of interesting things that came out of that meeting. I talked about it
Love
on
to
Sunday,
hear
but
it.
I want it's done. You're gonna get a kick out of some of this stuff, man. But so Jeff, if you can make it around, man, I'm all for it. Otherwise, do what you gotta do, my man. But we'll be right back after this first commercial break.
I'm sure they had a good time, man. I bet it had to do with the guy y'all let go, but
No. He wasn't mentioned once, truth be told, if you want to keep it a buck. He wasn't mentioned once. But we'll be right back. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Planning an event? From weddings to corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC brings over 15 years of experience to make your vision a reality. Based in Metro Atlanta and serving statewide, even internationally, we provide versatile event planning and authentic catering cuisines tailored to your needs. Whether it's pre-game meals for student athletes, fundraisers, weddings, corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC is your one-stop solution for exceptional service and unforgettable food. Our diverse culinary heritage means we cater to all cultural tastes, dietary needs, and food restrictions, making every meal uniquely yours. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Visit us on all social media at CMJ Events LLC or email us at cmjeventsllc@gmail.com. Also give us a call at 404-664-3882 so that we can start planning now.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU Sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Welcome back to episode 649 of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. This is the Indy Report. So Reek, man, we had some meetings over the past week. Saturday we had this big call to action AAF meeting. And basically it was just a bunch of, it was a presentation. Earl, the AD presented, the president of the AAF presented, and one of our big donors, Willie Deese, presented. But Earl's presentation was primarily about showing some of the data with regards to how athletics is being spent and how athletics is being paid for at the university. One of the big charts that he showed was the fact that currently right now at A&T, 60% of the revenue coming from athletics come from the students. And then he also had charts comparing it to pretty much like the Power 5, FCS programs, and like Division I programs that are not a part of the Power 4, and then like the non-FCS programs that are like kind of in those mid-major conferences. And their charts tend to show that 60, basically, it typically was 20%. And he even had one for Division I HBCUs where that number wasn't that high. I think he was expressing that point to pretty much say that you can't expect the students to keep paying for athletics, the athletic revenue for the university. And then with NIL coming on the pike, he's estimating he's gonna need between $750,000 to $1 million to be able to compete for championships in the CAA to try to, because a lot of these kids now want to get paid. And so, so then we got into the discussion point about fundraising. Eventually, we had a whole fundraising brief about some of the plans that they're going to try to do to try to fundraise. So because the expectation is that the alumni is going to have to foot some of this bill. And rightfully so, right? Like they made an attempt to increase the student fees. Currently, right now, A&T is the third highest in student fees in the UNC system. There's 16 schools in the UNC system. We're third. They requested to try to increase the student fees to $50, and they were denied by the state. They were denied by the board of governors. They told them absolutely not, because at $50, if they added $50 more to it, that would make them the most expensive, and they felt like they shouldn't be adding that burden to the students. Because for athletics. So we have to come up with another solution with regards to that. So when you start talking about athletic funding and things of that nature, you have to think about trying to update the facilities and things of that sort. And right now it's clear that while we're going to try to walk and chew gum at the same time to try to improve upon the facilities, like a lot of HBCUs need to do, we kind of have to get the NIL going. And another thing that he talked about, and I'm kind of combining both meetings at once because some of it kind of intertwines. And Alumni Town Hall was more about the entire university, whereas the AIF meeting was athletic focused. But he did brief at the Alumni Town Hall last night as well. And one of the things that came out of that was he had a chart that showed how much each sport was budgeted from the coaches' salaries and the operating revenues. And that was a fascinating chart because then it showed which coaches were paying comparable to the CAA to, which coaches were not. And then he also showed the scholarship funding and how much we pay versus the rest of the conference. And even though we pay the least, we still have the same amount of equivalencies as the rest of the conference. So his point was to try to explain the reason why we have the delta deficit primarily is because of the scholarships, because it's pretty much a $12 million delta total from a budgetary standpoint between the average in the CAA and us. But there's universities in the CAA that cost $90,000 a year to go to, $85,000 a year to go to. You know what I'm saying? So when you make that type of comparison, then you can understand why our budgets are smaller. But it isn't because we don't have the scholarship. It's not that at all. It's just we're cheaper. We're the cheapest school in the CAA to go to. So I know I just dropped a lot, but just wanted to try to give you some perspective on that meeting. It was a fascinating meeting from that regard. It gave a lot of perspective.
How'd you feel about things coming out of it? How did you feel about?
Well, I'll say how I felt coming in. Going in, it was more I was fascinated to see how people would react about the fact that, hey, if we want to win championships in this conference, then we're gonna have to put our money where our mouth is, so to speak. Because I've talked to alums, and chatted with alums in forums and things of that sort, and there's some that understand that, yeah, we need to do this, and there's some that are like, I'm not interested in paying players. So
What?
it becomes a dynamic. And you know, it's funny, there's other universities within the HBCU space that are still like wrestling with that, and some has passed through it. Like a Jackson State, they understand how this is going to go. They know they got a collective rocking. Shout out to Ken Clark. He's been doing some phenomenal work for Jackson State with regards to the KC 1400 collective that they got going. So they understand that they have to do this. So it's going to be fascinating to see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really an option if they want to compete. I know I mentioned this on either on our podcast or maybe on this show a couple weeks ago, but there are some D2 HBCUs in the state of North Carolina that are paying certain players to come to their school.
Yep.
It ain't a lot, but it's a check.
Yep. No.
So
So
it's the ball game, man.
it's and I'm glad you said that, because it reminded me of another thing that happened at the AAF meeting. So one piece of the puzzle that happened at the AAF meeting was they brought two of the coaches to come talk to the donors. And the story that Coach Terrell Robinson, the women's basketball coach, it kind of hit home for folks that was in that room. It hit home for me when I was watching it virtually. Basically, he brought up Malia Bracone, who's one of the best players on the championship roster from the season. And he pretty much said, he was like, I got to replace this young lady behind me, and I have 2 scholarships that I need to replace coming into the next season. And I started doing. He was like, and I started going through my recruitment drill and doing what I had to do. I brought a young lady in, and I talked about the fact that I've won 8 championships in 13 seasons. I talked about the fact that A&T is the largest HBCU in the country, and I talked about some of the great academics that the institution have, and I talked about the family atmosphere that we have at this university. And after I gave her my entire elevator speech and I pretty much explained everything down the line, she still came back and said, all right, that's great, but how much am I going to be making? Wasn't it like, how much, and what's the expectation here? Right. From that standpoint. And one thing he also said was, I said, well, we might be able to do X. And so that young lady left and went to somebody that said, we shall be able to do X. We have to get past, and so this point was, we got to get past the might, and we got to be at the shall. And he almost lost one of his young ladies that's been there 4 years, because she was considering going into the portal, and he took the remaining amount that he had in his collective for the year and gave it to her, so she wouldn't hop in the portal. So
That's amazing.
It is amazing, right? But it goes back to. I think that there's some HBCUs, I'm not going to name which ones, but there's some that are going to be in a world of hurt if they don't start investing in this space. And I'm not saying we got to be like getting like 10, 20 million dollars. I think that isn't realistic, considering some of the challenges and some of the resources that some of our institutions have. That's not a realistic endeavor. But I think there's a lot of kids and that was a story, like one of the stories about the football program, because Sean Gibbs was there. And Sean Gibbs is interesting, because remember, he was there when he recruited some of the guys that ended up going to Virginia Tech and things of that sort. So he pretty much said, I can get the guys in the building, but I got to have something to have a chance to keep them. And a lot of these kids ain't really asking for like hundreds of $1,000s. Like, they just want something. And I think that's the key.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's a huge problem. I mean, I know that Hampton is on board with the whole NIL thing. I mean, that shouldn't be a surprise. It's just raising the funds and having enough to pay people and be competitive. I mean, I know last year talking about Tallahassee and stuff, we lost a really good basketball player to FAMU last year, and I forgot what his number was, but it was. I mean, it may have been 6 figures, low 6 figures. Like, we couldn't match that. We just lost another guy to UCF this year. I'm not sure what he's getting. So, I mean, some of it's inevitable. But you gotta, like you say, you gotta be able to hit people off with, to even keep him an extra year now. Hey, here's because there
Mm-hmm.
was a good on HBCU game day on YouTube. I was watching either yesterday or day before, and they had I think Cy Alexander on, and he was
Mm-hmm.
talking about how different it is recruiting nowadays. So he said, like when he walks to a recruit, it used to be, hey, you know, A&T, here's all the benefits of A&T degree, here's all the doors that are open. Now, the first thing when they sit down, the parents slide a piece of paper to them, say, here's our number. All
Mm-hmm.
those, and then you slide it back and say, here's my number. And and hopefully it's enough to keep the conversation going. So yeah, you got to get on board. I'm interested to know, my man, which HBCUs are not on board. Is it because they just don't have the funds, or they philosophically don't agree with paying the players?
I think there's a combination of it, and I mean, then there's also about the coaches too. Like, if you have a coach that's not on board with paying players, it's going to be difficult
They need to
keep on.
retire.
You got to keep
Retire.
on.
That's what Roy Williams did. That's why Coach K
That's
retired.
why Coach K
Quit.
retired. Like a lot of
Quit.
them, yeah, Saban, a lot of them did that. But
Quit.
it's just I think it's probably more resource than anything else. But I think some people and everybody's going to always say, well, no, that's not us. But I mean, your actions are going to show that. But I think there's a lot that are in. Like I think Gramblin's trying to do their thing. I think Graham, that was fascinating because I guess Dante Jackson asked about NIL and he said, "Oh, we're doing a study," and that's what most folks do. Like you do a study, but sometimes coaches want an answer. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I don't think
Right.
and Crary and when Crary got hired, one of the first things they asked him about that, and he said, "I wouldn't have came here if they weren't trying to do NIL here." So,
Yeah.
I don't know
Like you said,
if that study ended or that study ended or whatever, and all of a sudden they said, "Oh, we got to do it." Yep.
When you're doing a study, it remind me that scene from Friday where Smokey, like, he got that dollar and the mom gave him that money to go to the store and he's trying to just flip that dollar over a couple times until he got enough. That's what the study is like. Hey, find the money. That's it. Like, there's nothing to study. Right? Either if you don't got it, you ain't gonna win.
Or you got to make a tough decision.
What's the
My
decision? What are your choices?
I mean, your choices is you decide to go down to Division 2 or Division 3. You can do what
Oh,
St.
well,
Francis did. St. Francis went from Division 1 to Division 3. Like I
yeah.
think you just got to start you got to start thinking about these things. And I think I think there's a lot of institutions that are in, and I think there's a lot of institutions that are capable of doing it. And I think they have a strong alumni fan base to do it. I'm more curious to see like how high our NIL collective ends up getting once we start the fundraising ball. The A&T's goal is to get to 850,000 this year, and then be at over $1 million a year by 2030 for an NIL budget, which doesn't put us at like Power 4, but it puts us comparable to what's going on in the CAA. Right.
Well, here's the question that I know our ADs are grappling with, because I know many P5 ADs are. It's like we're gonna have to cut some sports.
A&T doesn't want to do that.
They don't want to, but
because you can't unless it changed, because there's a minimum amount of sports you got to have to be Division 1. So
well, you're
you
gonna
can't
cut
cut too
something,
many.
right? It's kind of like where the Power 5 AD said that our Olympic sports are gonna get D1 facilities with a D3 experience.
Yeah, well, yeah, you could do that. That's a possibility.
Right. Because I mean, at the end of the day, it's just you got a bucket of money. So at the
All right, I'm gonna hit through these chats real fast. So EA, my brother, I'm gonna remember this a couple years down the line. I think it was a good hire for y'all.
yeah, I agree.
But I'm still gonna remember this. I know how y'all do y'all coaches when things don't go the way y'all expect it to. So I'm gonna put this on the line. Yeah.
Or if they don't win the way they wanted to,
I mean, I don't know, like, but I don't know what the expectations are. Like, and I asked that in a different private chat. I was like, what is the expectation of FAMU basketball?
you'll know when you see it.
I asked
They
myself
don't
about
know.
that. Hey, I'll be honest with you. Nowadays, man, I'll be asking myself about that with A&T basketball all the time.
Hey, it's the same with us, right? I mean, both our programs were, struggling, and this year we got two new coaches, and it's on the way. But now there are expectations.
Do y'all have 9 players in the portal
Oh, oh no, we don't have 9. We
in
have
basketball?
no, now y'all, what's up with that, man?
Yeah, that's a great question. I had my thoughts when I started counting the number of players we had in the portal. I was at the point where I was like, if you're gonna have that many players in the portal, you might start over. You might just go in and cut your ties now. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how I feel. All right, Lennon, this will be a running joke for you. Your cousin is definitely going to make a mistake tomorrow. Considering the 2 people that are that's in the show, your cousin is absolutely going to make a mistake tomorrow.
Wow.
There's one of us is cool with one of these choices, and the other one is cool with the other choice.
Hey, Lennon, where y'all from? Where's your cousin from? Where's he live?
Well, I mean, he went to Norfolk, so.
Oh. Well, he turned out all right. I guess he still got a computer, internet, so he turned out all right somehow from Norfolk State.
Yep. So, wait, let me see, where's it at? Here's the chat one. Here's yeah, I mean, and that's the key too. I think this is the biggest factor when it comes to decision making about what you're gonna do. You got to keep the enrollment has to continue to grow for these institutions, because A&T is and I talked about the whole student enrollment situation. I mean, the student fee situation involving A&T, but then the other thing you got to remember that in the state of North Carolina, you can't use institutional funds to cover athletics like that. They're not really rolling like that. So we'll see. But if you want to win championships, you're going to have to invest. Now, if you don't want to win championships, then if you can afford to stay in the game and keep bringing and keep setting up rosters, by all means.
I'm trying to think what school is an embodiment of that, where they don't really seem to mind losing.
Well, the funny thing is,
world.
I know we pick on Morgan State. Morgan State is investing. Morgan State is in. So I think things are going to turn for them. They got the NIL going. They made this whole big announcement about opting in. They're ready. They just haven't seen the results yet, but they've been investing.
What about Howard? Not even Smack.
Howard.
What's
no. Howard's been investing, but they've been winning championships. Ever since the MEAC has gone down to 8 teams, they kind of been dominating the championship game over there in the MEAC. I know the rest of you guys don't want to admit it. Y'all don't want to. Your pride is, you might have to swallow your pride here, but Howard's pretty much won the championship in everything but tennis. That's South Carolina State.
When you put it that way, yeah.
Yeah, they've won any sport that they've played, they've won in. They've won in the NEC. They've won in the MEAC. Everywhere they've played, they've won. That's, I know folks don't want to hear it, but go look at the data. They've done ever since A&T and Hampton and FAMU and Bethune have left that conference. They have been winning. They've been running them. My joke is they've been running amok in the MEAC. That's what they've been doing.
Right.
They've won in men's basketball. They've won in women's basketball. They've been to a Celebration Bowl. They've won volleyball. They've won track. They've done it all. The only thing they haven't won is tennis.
You sell Howard athletics better than a Howard grad.
Well,
they still act like they ain't won nothing. It's like
they've won swimming. They've wone swimming. They got on the cover of Sports Illustrated for swimming, because they're the only HBCU with a swim team right now.
Yeah.
So they've look, man. They've taken advantage of the big dogs leaving, and you can't be mad at them for that. And to be fair, Norfolk has won some championships in the fray too. But I always remind the MEAC that every year A&T still wins more championships than some of y'all teams in that conference that are there full time. I just want to remind them of that. This is going to happen again this year, because if Morgan State don't win softball, they won't win any championships this year. School down the road ain't won no championships this year. A&T's already won 2. But I digress.
Good point.
Well, we've already won
we've
already won 4 championships so far, I think. Yes, 4. Bowling regular season, bowling tournament champions. Then they won track, men's track, indoor. We'll probably win men's and outdoor, and we're hosting the meet this year, so that's gonna be fun. I gotta try to pull up for that. And we won women's basketball regular season. So we got a couple.
How'd y'all get nice at bowling? That's impressive. Like how that happened?
They were nice at bowling when I was a student, man.
Are they locals? Is just a lot of alleys in Greensboro? Like I didn't even know
Yeah, I mean
people
we
bowled
don't
like
have
that.
a bowling alley on campus, so yeah, there's a pretty good bowling alley in Greensboro. They do host a tournament every year. I mean they were 8th in the country going into the tournament. They almost got
That's
out of they
amazing.
almost made it to the Final Four.
Wow.
And we won back to back in national cheerleading too. First HBCU to win back to back in cheerleading. Traitors, Amanda, traitors. If you want to call us traitors, call us traitors. The traitors.
What school does Amanda go to
School down
or
the road.
represent? Oh,
School down
okay,
the road.
got it.
Yep, we got 2 national championships in cheerleading. Because that's under athletics, so there you go. All right, man. Yeah. Coach Kearney is such an angel too. One of the coolest people too. Got to meet her. Hall of Fame bowling coach.
Let me ask you a question. So
Yes.
I'm interested in ours, but how's your football team looking?
Oh God. We currently have 6 offensive linemen, healthy offensive linemen. We've already lost. We lost our quarterback. We've already lost 2 of our quarterbacks for the season. One towards ACL a few weeks ago, and
Ooh.
KJ White, who was the presumed starter, broke his leg the night before the spring game.
Oh,
He had surgery the following morning.
well, that should be fixed soon. I mean, what, 2 months on that one, hopefully. As long
Yeah,
as
I
no
think
ligament damage.
he's gonna get I think he's gonna do a medical red shirt for that one.
Wow, it must have been
I
a
mean, he
bad
broke his
break.
leg, man. He broke his leg.
But yeah, there are different ways to break it. Like if does it have ligament damage, do they have to,
Nah, it was to the point where I don't think they expect him to return. It
Oh
doesn't
wow.
sound like it. Yeah, it doesn't appear he's gonna make it back in time. But
Mm.
you never know. But I will and then Braxton Thomas was injured, but I think I don't know if it's that serious. So we had our 4th-string quarterback Noah Sanders. Pretty much it ended up being like more of a practice than a game. They did like a scrimmage portion of it, but I'm not. I was tempering my expectations going to this season anyway. My perspective is if we lose to Tennessee State, in the opener, it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough.
Mm.
And I'll be honest. I think it'll be interesting to see how we look like and we're looking for 20 players. The portal opened today, and we're looking for players. We're looking for a few good Aggies.
Mm.
So
I'm
hey, I'm gonna tell
excited.
you what, Lena. Tell him to
Ours.
stay away from the news because I guess a big article came out about a protest today from the school. So tell him to stay away from the news.
Central?
Mm-hmm.
What they protest? What do they protest?
Housing. I mean, that's that's the go-to nowadays.
Yep.
That's the go-to. I mean, don't worry. Like, I mean, they protested housing at A&T too. They did that last year.
Hey, they protested at Chapel Hill. Like it's a thing.
Yeah, they
Man.
protest everywhere. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that like housing is a challenge. Housing is a challenge, but for some reason, the news cameras have a habit of be hitting these HBCUs a little bit harder than the non-HBCUs for some odd reason that tends to happen a lot. And I don't like those guys down in Durham, but I know how folks report the media, and I know how they roll. Like the cameras tend to show up at our schools when there's something bad going on or something not positive going on. Is the best way to put it. So just some type of weird habit. And considering that we have another non-HBCU right up the street, they got housing problems worse than us, and they don't really go over there for some odd reason. I just never understood that. I don't get it. Just things.
Interesting.
Yeah, but
hey, man,
but
I'm happy about our football program.
I know you are.
I don't. The team. We'll see. We need like a playmaker or 2 in the portal, but the foundation is strong. Like that part. I mean, when they come in the stadium, it's like, all right, you're gonna have to play. You know what I'm saying? No, we don't know what we got. No, we got a good, solid foundation, I think, in place. So I'm
But we did.
interested to see what happens at Jackson State. But we just need like a playmaker because we lost some playmakers to the portal, of course. So we just need to replace those dudes, and I think they will. If we get that, then we got some
One
a nice
thing
receiver and a burner. We need 2 burners on offense.
One thing I will say, we on HBCU Nightly earlier this week, last week we went over all the schedules of the independents, and they had Hampton winning 5 games again, which
Wait, what's that winning what? I broke up.
5 games, 5-7 is what they predict. But I said that they could. I said you guys have a chance to break a few of these because you played some tough teams close. But I think the thing that's going to be rough for you guys is that now those tough teams are now you got to go to them because you played a lot of those
Yep.
guys close at home, but now you got to
Yeah.
go to them. Like you got to go to Rhode Island in November, by the
Mhm.
way, which I'm gonna
Oof.
tell you right now, not gonna be fun.
Right.
Not gonna be fun.
Right.
I'm probably gonna pull up to that game, but it's not gonna be
Yeah.
fun. If I'm in town,
Mhm.
I'm definitely gonna pull up to that game. But all right, will Hampton beat JSU? They didn't pick the panel did not pick Hampton to beat Jackson State. However, most of the panel thought it would be a blowout. I think that game's gonna be close.
Ain't gonna
I
be a
think that game's
blowout.
gonna be really
I'll
close.
guarantee you it right now. I would pick Jackson State because we got a young
No, it's gonna be a close game. I
team.
picked Jackson State too. I think it's just gonna
I'd
be
pick
close.
Jackson right now, but it ain't gonna be a blowout. Nope. Hampton's got too much size, too much strength, too much athleticism to get blown out. That ain't gonna happen.
Yep. But all right, I gotta close out the show. You got any final thoughts before I run through the outro?
None, man. It's a good show. I'm glad I was able to make it.
Yeah, I know I'm gonna get beat up because we only had one commercial break, but we all right. But we'll be fine with that. But
You know the best part about not having multiple commercial breaks?
what?
I ain't gotta hear that theme music multiple times because that just sticks in my head. You know, after
I
this
mean,
show, it's just so catchy.
but that is the effectiveness of a theme song, sir.
Right.
That's what you want.
Right. It just sticks in my head.
That is exactly what you want. That's television at its finest.
That's finest.
All right. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I'm David L. Rhodes. Shout out to the Dean of HBCU Sports, Dr. Cavil. I'm coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with my man Tariq Wilson, and shout out to Jeffery Johnson for making an appearance. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at ChampD1012 and go to hgupowership.com to catch the podcast because my man Reek and Jeff Johnson do some phenomenal stuff there. We look forward to next week as we will discuss the latest news in the lab. Make sure you follow Dr. Cavil on Twitter, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And make sure you follow Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Facebook and Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. Dream big and continue to move forward. We will talk to you soon. Reek.
Of course.
Lecture dismiss. Have a good one, guys.